Wine and wisdom. That's a W. Two W's.
Two W's.
This is my gang sign for wine and wisdom. Welcome to Wine and Wisdom, the internet's most amazing and wisest and stupefying podcast. I'm your host, the Matt Kane, and this week, ladies and gentlemen, I scoured the dark web. Well, maybe not the dark web. I scoured the dark corners of Columbus to find the most wisest, the most intelligent, and dare I say, handsomest of all. His name is Ed Schwartz.
Greetings, everyone, in the world of the excellent wide web. I come to you now from Columbus, Ohio. I can't even keep it going. A wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Yes, keep it coming. Keep it coming. I love to hear your dulcet tones. They're so.
Thank you.
What are you? Are you a baritone? What are you?
Thank you. Yes, I am a baritone. Yeah. I have moments of being a tenor and the occasional moments of baritone bass. So okay. I like to think it makes me sound regal.
If you are anything, Ed, you are regal. Let me tell you. All right, this is Wine and Wisdom, and what Wine and Wisdom is all about is drinking wine, which I'll be pouring here in a second, or in your case, Ed, you're drinking
a G&T, gin and tonic.
Gin and tonic, hell yeah! I think I first heard that. I heard about that drinking a Snoop Dogg song. I think
I think I did. I think I did too, actually.
But anyways,
long time ago.
this podcast is all about drinking, but most importantly, it's all about getting wise. It's about meeting behind the veil two human beings, no bullshit, in our eternal quest for truth, for what it means to be a human. If we can gather together, and my face is getting redder by the second. I just worked out, guys. Sorry, I was teaching a jiu-jitsu class, so I'm got rosacea out the wazoo. If we can meet together as human beings and unpack what it means to be a human and to navigate this world as wisely as possible, learn from each other. That's what it's all about, guys, ladies and gents. You can check us out, anchor.com, anchor.fm/wine and wisdom. And you can check us out here on YouTube, the Kane Action Team YouTube channel, and wherever you get your podcasts, y'all. Spotify, Apple, and the like. Leave us a rating. Leave us a review. Smash that subscribe button. Smash that like button.
And tell your fucking friends.
Tell your fucking friends. I got my plugs out of the way, brother. We'll get to your plugs later. Because you always got to have something to plug. But yes, welcome to episode 18 of Wine and Wisdom. Let's get to the wine. It's nothing fancy, motherfucker.
What are you drinking this time?
Oak leaf.
Ooh.
Hey, I got some new wines coming, but today is not the case. I ask all my guests this.
Ooh, it's a blend. Okay, can't go wrong with a blend.
The red blend.
You can't go wrong with a blend. It's just good. Like if you haven't had you probably have had it. Apothic Red. Yeah, they're red blends. Almost all of them are red blends.
I do
choice.
Are you so? Let's back it up. I know you're hitting the G&T.
Yeah,
my man. Are you a wine drinker?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I am a wine drinker. I just did not have a bottle on hand to crack open, so it was just like it was in the middle of the day today. I work in here actually, like right there is my workstation. Okay. So I just pivot to my main computer, and I was like midway through the day today, and I'm like, I probably need wine, but I have lots of other alcohol. We'll see how the discussion goes. If wine is more mandated, I will dash out real quick and pick some up. But you said it's okay, so I'm drinking G&T because it's been a minute and it's super good.
So here, virtual cheers.
L'chaim.
To that, my friend. Yes, sir. Salute. So let's get right into it. We don't fuck around on Wine and Wisdom. We get to the core. We get to the truth. Let's talk about this. Who the hell is Ed Schwartz?
What a deep question. What a deep and multi-layered question. Well,
listen, only the whammies here. No, I should say this. Only the big bucks, no whammies. You ever see that? You remember that show back in the day? I forget what the hell it was called. Somebody in the comments, leave it. There was a show where people would get on and they would go, big bucks, no whammies.
Yeah. Oh, that was like a 70s game show or something like that.
Know.
It was a while ago. Like, I don't think that was my time. I think that's before my time.
So who the hell is Ed Schwartz?
Who am I? So I am a multifaceted individual of, how do I even describe it? A passionate, charismatic young man with sights set on the stars. Where you can see this big curtained thing behind me. That is a sound booth that I have recently built to pursue voice acting. But I have actually been an actor, a performer on stage, now on film. I was in band. Performing has been my life since, I want to say I was like 5 years old. So in some facet, maybe even before that, some facet or another, I have been rehearsing and performing since I was about 5 years old, and I'm 30 now. So about 23, 25 years. I think there was a break in there for just different things. But a performer is absolutely who I am. Ask anybody that I know, and they will be like, yeah, he's loud. He likes to do stuff. So it's one of those. So like ultimately I would say I'm a performer, but more than that, I would say I'm very much a jack of all trades, where it's like I'm defining myself by what I do, but it's a lot of what I do also is who I am, because there's little bits of philosophy, there's little bits of working with my hands, there's little bits of fine arts, there's little bits of crafts and performing and cooking and gaming and reading and writing and exploring and adventuring and taking martial arts classes and everything like that with yours truly, Mr. Man. That kind of makes up who I am as a whole. But to use a description a friend of mine gave me when we were actually playing a tabletop role-playing game that actually asks you, and we were playing ourselves, which is a whole different story. He describes me as Passion's Extract, and honestly, I would say that's who I am.
Ooh, that's a good one. Passion's Extract?
Passion's Extract, where it's just, I just care. Like it's hard to describe, because it's one of those where it's, I give a shit. You know what I mean? Where it's politics, or it's music, or it's fandoms, or it's philosophy, or it's people. To a degree, I give a shit, and it's I don't know, like, that's me.
Yeah,
it's a lot. It's a very difficult question. Thank you for starting with a big one. I appreciate it.
That's what we do here. Well, a couple things, dude. Number one, I would agree with all those points. You know, we met, the genesis of our relationship, we met on set.
Yep.
We were doing a horror short film that is not out yet. Let's get on there, John.
Come on, John, we're waiting.
So I would agree, like, you know, what's the, you know, kindred spirits, like, you know, when you when you know somebody who like it, that's like your kind, do you know what I mean? Like, definitely you're like, oh yeah, like this guy is, because I'm a performer. It's what I do. It's in my blood. It's my DNA. So, you know, I quickly pick that up in you, a fellow performer, a fellow goofball. But yeah, I would agree. Definitely, you're a performer, and a hell of one, I must say. You were definitely acting circles around me on set on Abandoned.
I don't know about that.
But yeah, and I love the other thing you said about you know, just being passionate. Passion's Extract. I like that. I've never heard that put that way, but
that's from my buddy Jay. My buddy Jay was just like,
shout out to that guy. But
absolutely.
I would agree completely, because everything in our discussions that we've had is like, I can tell you're a very passionate person. Well, whatever that subject is, whether it is acting, whether it is voice acting, whether we talked about music for a while, whatever performance or politics, philosophy, it's cool. You have your finger, like, you know, you're like touching a lot of different things, but you like them all. And I can tell in our discussions and even in some of those things that you post on Facebook, that you're definitely somebody that cares and has compassion, which we're going to talk about later. That's one of my main topics. So listen, man, and you know, you're taking my action for well, it's called film fighting now. I changed the name. Film fighting class. You're a student, and I appreciate you. You come, you know, every week, and you work hard. And I think
don't mind that.
No worries. And you know, I think you told me I inspired you to
a little bit.
You know,
Yeah, a little
Oh,
bit.
he's rocking it, guys. Look at the lettuce. Because
I was thinking about growing it out for a long time, and then we were on set together, and I saw your long hair, and I'm like, yeah, fuck it. So actually, it was actually since that time. The last haircut I got was right before I went to Vegas. Before it was this past year. It was like when the pandemic was kind of winding down ish, sort of.
Yeah.
And I went to Vegas to visit my sister, and I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna trim it up a little bit just to even it out. Because I'm going to Vegas, like, you know, I want to look a little good, you know.
Well,
I was single and ready to mingle, and I wanted to look my best.
Well, I'll
and then
say
it was
this:
it's just like, let's grow it out.
You do look great with it. Like there's, and this is coming from somebody. Like I've had long hair for.
I was gonna say you told us you had it for like a long time,
13 or 14 years. So not so you like,
pretty long.
You know, basically over a third of my life. And I say this to most guys, and when, you know, I talk to girls about this too. Like most guys can't have long hair. It's just, you got to have the right bone structure, you got to have the right facial features, and you got to have the vibe too. You know what I mean? And I feel like most guys, you know, I feel like there's a lot of guys that go through the phase like, I'm gonna grow my hair out, let's see, and then they throw it out. And it's like, oh,
yeah, you're just like,
you know? And I'm not attached to this. Like this doesn't define me as who I am. I've actually thought about like, I'm just gonna fucking cut it off one day and like let's just kind of like grow it back, like, you know, see what it's been like, because it's been so fucking long since I've had, you know, short hair. But anyways, I get a lot of feedback. People tell me it looks good on me. So guess what? We're here to stay. And not only that, let's get to this. Vikings. Like let's talk about long hair being a sign of masculinity and virility, right? Whereas like it's like culturally, it's like, you know, maybe more so
most world cultures have long hair of some kind. I mean, the Native Americans prized it. Like my family is Jewish, and then like Samson and the Jewish culture, in a lot of ways, longer hair and even beards is just part of the culture. The Vikings had long hair, and it's just part of a lot of cultures to just let it grow out. What is it? I don't want to fuck this up. I want to say it's the Sikhs can't cut their hair.
Yeah. Okay.
Because it's some spiritual and religious connection. I'm not going to profess to know about them, but I know that long hair for them is very, very important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to say it's been like just a modern convention of recent to like for men to have shorter hair. So, but we're not here to talk about long hair. But it's just interesting to think. It's interesting culturally when you start growing your hair. I remember when I first started growing my hair out, some people in my life were like taken aback, and they were like, "What are you doing? Like, you want to become a girl?" You know, and they were obviously they had very limited thinking, very limited scope of thinking. You know, obviously anytime you judge anybody about anything, you're coming from a place of narrow-mindedness and rather than acceptance, unless it's somebody doing something where they're harming another or themselves. Okay, judgment's important, but let's try to come from a place of appreciation rather than, you know, strict judgment. But
even if you don't like it, if you don't like that thing about them, but it doesn't affect you in any way whatsoever, like any way whatsoever, like exactly. Let people enjoy things.
Everybody has to have an opinion about every fucking thing. Like, you know, why do you like anime? Why do you like the sports team? Like, what? How about I like whatever the fuck I like and I do what I want? And how about we accept that?
Shaking the whole desk.
And rather than, you know, like being shamed for something, like fuck off.
Well, and look at like the anime thing. I'm really glad you brought that up. Like the anime thing is one of those that was it was like the replacement for comic books almost for a long time. I remember being in high school and middle school. You weren't really open about liking anime. Like me and my friends were, because we were nerds and geeks and weird ones anyway. Like what the fuck do we care? But most people, like, I know a lot of people, myself included, that were teased and made fun of for liking anime. And now you look at the world, same with comic books. And now you look at the world, like you have the Marvel MCU for comic books in its own way. It's not quite the same, but in its own way. And I know people are going to be like, ah! in its own way. It's drawing focus and attention. Anime, on the other hand, like you have people at the Olympics that are just like there was one guy I keep seeing the post of. He did Luffy's second stage or second form pose before he won the gold. There was another guy
Nice.
that won the gold, I want to say, for windsurfing with Aang's blue arrow, his airbending arrow in his hair.
That's awesome.
Like there's so much anime representation now in like major cultures now. I mean, Japan's always been like, because I mean they came up with it, but it's always been like so culturally accepted and so culturally celebrated.
Yeah.
Admittedly, from an outsider, I could be kind of wrong about that, but it's like it's on their trains and stuff. Here, it's definitely coming a lot more out of the woodwork, especially tying into something else, especially now that the pandemic's happened, where a lot of these geek and nerd culture things that were so shat on by the cultural majority for so long that they're now like, oh man, these things are great. And all of us over here are like, duh.
No shit.
Like,
yeah, dude, I've
tabletop role playing, same thing.
Yeah, you know, the term, and I take kind of, I don't even say umbrage, but like the term geek or nerd, like you can be a geek or nerd about anything.
Oh,
right?
absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm a huge martial arts geek nerd. Like I love that shit. I gobble it up. Like, so you can be, but again, there's the stereotype. I mean, look at this. I mean, that's Jesus, right?
I have the high ground.
Obi-Wan, high ground, right? Is what it says. Anyways, that's, geekdom, nerddom. But anyway,
right there. Represent.
The thing is, it's like, there's the stereotype of geeks, nerds being, pocket protectors and, whatever. But anyways, my whole thing with all of everything that you're saying is it's like, you like what you like. Who gives a shit what other people think? And that's a hard thing. When you get judged and criticized, especially you kids that are in high school and middle school and shit, like it gets easier. But people are going to bash you for liking something that's different. I love anime. Yep. I'm a huge fan of it. And now I will say now it's becoming more widely accepted. More people are into it than I would say than 15, 20 years ago when I was first starting.
Oh, absolutely. Way more into it. It was so niche way back when.
Yeah. And think about comic books, like you were saying about Marvel before. Comic book movies are the major tent poles of the film industry. Well, before that, like if you had a comic book, you're like, oh my God, you loser, you geek, you read comic books.
You'd be, oh yeah, have you seen a new thing about the Incredible Hulk? Right. It's just like, now you have people, like, there's a fucking laundry list. I don't even need to pull one. Everyone knows. Like you have all these people that are like, oh no, I've been into comic books forever.
Yeah. So the bottom line is like what you like. Mm-hmm. Put the middle finger up to anybody that is going to bash you for liking what you like.
Fuck off.
That's right. Fuck them. I want to talk about, we did meet on a film set. So
yeah.
I like this. I like giving this question to all my guests that are in the, that enjoy the film medium, right? That partake in it, that create, that consume film, that are cinephiles, whatever, if you will. What is it about film? What is it about storytelling, I suppose, in general, that got you interested, that pulled you in, and it has its hooks in you, and made you want to then pursue creatively and career-wise this path?
Like I said, I'd been doing it for so long that it was one of those that for a long time it's just what I did. Because I moved from Chicago when I was about 10. I say Chicago like most people say Cleveland. I moved from Schaumburg, which is outside of Chicago.
Yeah.
I moved from Chicagoland. I moved from Chicago. No one's really going to know unless they've been there. But I was in local performances with school, which were just singing and dancing on stage in front of an audience. Some people may not consider that the same. We very much had to rehearse. We very much had to memorize. We very much had to perform. And I've been doing that since kindergarten. We had this big pageant thing every year that everyone was a part of. Moved to a different school. It was then a literal musical that they would put on. The first one was Music Man. I missed out on that one. I was seriously like 7. And I was just like, I'm going to be part of the set crew because I like to draw at the time. And of course, you being 7, they're part of the set crew, but it was more of, it's drawing time. Let's go sit over here.
Yeah, right.
Because you paint inside the lines kind of thing. They didn't have us doing that. But the next year I was part of the not backstage. I was part of the ensemble cast. And this was all on stage. And this was Meet Me in St. Louis. We learned all the main show-stopping songs and everything like that. Can't tell you what the show's about. I was like 8. So I'm just like, but the year after that, there was supposed to be another one. I moved to Ohio and immediately joined Little Theater Off Broadway in Columbus, which those who are community theater folks may have heard of it, just because it's been around so long. And then from there, I did a fall play and a spring musical pretty much every year until I graduated high school. So that was 2002 to 2009, at least twice a year. When I graduated high school, the last year of high school, just during the school year, I did 6 shows. 4 of them occurred at once. I was wrapping one show, going into the performance of another show, starting the rehearsals for 2 more that had different staggered performance times. So it was, I've been doing it the entire time, but the reason I got that heavy into it, I tell you that story to tell you this story, because ADD brain likes to wander. But I remember the point. I know where I'm going. But the reason I got into all of that, especially in high school, was I realized, maybe subconsciously, but I realized that these games that we were playing, these improv games, were no different than playing pretend when you're a child. A lot of people poo-poo and shit on playing pretend. Kids who play with action figures, kids who play with Legos. The reason we stop is because we get older, and it's because we're told to stop. Now there's a little bit of a change in your mind and things happen and all sorts of things grow. Acting is the same way. Outside of improv, it's just scripted. And it gives us the opportunity, or gives me the opportunity, to live lives I would never live. To do things and express things that maybe I just can't express right now. And on top of that, there is a bit of a rush. Well, on stage, there's a bit of a rush when you perform that is unmatchable. Anyone who's ever been on stage can tell you, and I guarantee they can tell you, the adrenaline rush of performing on stage, whether it's a band, whether it's dancing, whether it's acting, all of the above, is unmatchable. It is the greatest. It's going to sound like a junkie. It's the greatest high you'll ever have. Yeah. You come off the stage at the end of the number, everyone is clapping, even if they're kind of clapping. You've killed it. You're set for the rest of the month, and it's amazing. So it was one of those that I realized, because I started voice acting. I built my booth. I have a good mic. Well, I have, this is for like streaming, but I have my good mic in the booth. Not sure if you can see it with this light. Yeah, you can see a glint of it. It's back there. That I can do so many different kinds of acting. That I did stage for so long, and stage is very much its own animal. When I got out of high school, I went to college. Getting into stage was very difficult. It was one of those that I just didn't know how to go about it. It was very weird because it was a small town. And then I got in touch with somebody in Columbus to do film, and they're like, "Hey, I'm trying to do a short film. Well, it was a feature at the time. Would you be interested?" I mean, like, absolutely. Because I knew at this point, because, in high school, I did 20 stage productions, different kinds of stage productions. So I kind of had my feet wet when it came to acting. And being on stage was second nature. Film was something I never tried before. And the subtlety that one can do in film is, as an actor, it's a very different kind of high. It's a very intimate. It is an incredibly intimate way to express oneself, to perform. And that, coupled with my desire for voice acting, which I'd always wanted to do since Full Metal Alchemist, when I watched it in middle school. When I watched it in middle school back on AIM, I actually chatted with Vic Mignogna, who is poo-poo in the industry right now for a whole host of different things we don't need to get into right now.
I didn't know
But I talked with, it's a shame, really. It sucks. Like, there's a lot of stuff going on, and it's a whole thing. Anyone who wants to look it up can. At the time, we didn't know this, but I reached out to him, and the voiceover thing was not known. how to do it, where to go, how to do it. And I think I said how to do it twice, regardless. And that brings a very different style of performing, where you have stage, which is everything you've got. You need to perform to the back row. Film brings in an intimacy that is still you. Voiceover is just your voice. You can literally be anything. You can be a creature. You can bring someone to tears or an emotion or laughter with just the sound of your voice. And that kind of depth is just incredible. So to sum up that long story and describing my process for getting into everything is that it allows me to just experience. It allows me to tell a story, to bring forth these emotions and these expressions and these characters that I just can't on a normal basis. Like, does that make sense? Like, it's very hard to put into words, but it's just getting out those emotions, getting out that expression, and just going after it. I don't know. It's what I've always figured and always felt I was meant to do. It's the only thing I've ever known that I was meant to do was be an actor, without question. And so I throw any chance I get, reasonable chance I get, because film, any reasonable chance I get, I will throw myself into it, head over heels for it.
Wow. Yeah, that was good, man. A lot.
I know that was a lot.
Hey, that's what I love. That's what I love as when people convey the truth, man, and a lot of things to touch on there. But I can tell you thought about this. I could tell this isn't like, oh, I just want to do it because it sounds cool. Which a lot of people,
that's how it started, sort of.
Well, yeah,
it's not what it is now.
And then it morphs and transforms. Like that's how it was when I started martial arts. It was like, yeah, it's cool. Like, oh, you can kick people in the head. And then I started learning the philosophy about how it's really all about self-growth and self-realization and all that. But anyways, get back to what you were saying. I agree 100% with what you said about the performance. When you get that high, that's why comedians do what they do. That's why athletes act, all those people, they do it because there is nothing in this world that replaces that high. I used to I was a pro wrestler for a year. I think we talked about this. And so I've been around some of those pro wrestlers. There was, a guy named Coco Beware who he was in a show in a locker room. That's another story for another day. But anyways, when you're around these wrestlers and you see they're like doing these insane stunts, these moves for like 50 people at a National Guard armory in the middle of nowhere. Why do they do it? It's not for the paycheck, I'll tell you that. They do it for the high that you get when you see the crowd, when they respond, when they react to something that you did. There's just, you're right, there's nothing like it. Also, I don't know if we've talked about this, but that's where I got my start acting. I've been acting for 23 years. I got my start acting in 5th grade in stage. I tried out for the after school drama club, which was called the Panther Players.
Cool.
And I made the cut, and not to brag, but the 2 productions that we did in 5th grade, I was the lead. No big deal. And then I was on and off. I did some mystery dinner theater, some other stage work. And I loved it. Like it was a high for me. You can't beat it. Enjoyed it. And then, like you were saying, to get into, and you talk about, like, when you're telling these stories, and remember, this is how us as human beings connect. This is how we learn. Well, our ancestors told stories around campfire, right? To like, hey, what happened? Oh, you should have seen it.
Yeah.
It was in the jungle.
It's also our history.
Yeah.
Well, it's not just what happened now. It's just
it's
our history. Like, we've only written stuff down, what, 10,000 years ago is cuneiform tablets? 9,000 years ago?
So, the original cave drawings in like the Middle East were like, and like.
But humans are 130,000 years old. Homo sapiens. Cro-Magnon, Neanderthal, and Decanovans. 130,000. So we've only have a written record
for
9,000 years.
Yeah. So everything.
What happened?
Everything was orated. So the point is,
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
no, hey, dude, this is our show. This is our show, everyone. No, all I'm trying to say is that the point is like that's how we learn from each other. That's how we grow, and that's how we fully make sense of this world, right? And like you said, acting opens like to quote. I just love this quote. I've said this a few times on the podcast, but to quote Brad Pitt, and he said,
Okay.
acting is like opening a portal to a world that you can never inhabit except through that portal of acting, right? Think about it.
Yeah.
One moment he can be Achilles in the Iliad, right? In Troy. The next, he can be a stoner in what the hell is that movie?
Burn After Reading?
True Romance.
Oh yeah, True Romance. He's not a stoner in Burn After Reading. He's just an idiot.
But the point is, like, that's what's so great about acting, is that for that moment, right? You're acting truthfully in imaginary circumstances. In that moment, you are inhabiting that character. You are feeling those feelings, those expressions, those experiences. You become a vessel for the writing to come forth, for that great writing. And you become a vessel for which the audience can vicariously live through and experience what you're going through in a safe manner.
Absolutely.
That's the key. Is we want to feel those feelings. I want to cry. I want to have rage. I want to have every emotion, every human spectrum. I want to have it. Romance, all that. I want to have it all, but I kind of want to experience it on my couch first. I want to learn. I kind of want to do it safely, you know? And some of the great writers will tell you that when you watch a film, filmmaking is like equipment for living. It teaches you kind of how to live safely. You know, well, I shouldn't say safely. It teaches you how to live fully. Fully is, I guess, a better way to put that. So
it can give you a breadth of experiences that you ordinarily wouldn't be able to get. Like, we live in Ohio. Like, if we wanted to experience, like, truly experience other cultures, we're not going to get that through Hollywood. We're going to get that through the filmmakers of these places, and maybe even documentaries of these places that maybe we can't just go somewhere.
Yeah.
But maybe we want to experience the stories of that place, and film and stories, books, novels, poetry. That's how we're going to experience that. It's the only way we can experience that in some and unfortunately very often circumstances that you're not going to, unless you dedicate your life to it, which 99.8% of the people won't, you're never going to see the entire world.
Yep.
Not necessarily a depressing thought. It's just the truth of the matter.
Yeah. And you know, so I don't know what the hell I was going to say.
I am an excellent distraction.
I know what I was going to say. But yeah, you're right. And that's why I know I'll always, like, even though I'm busier than I've ever been, owning my business, working a couple jobs, like,
and that's a lot
of things on. There's like, it's just like anything in life. You know, if this is like the pie, right? You get the pie chart. Like, how much is relationship going to occupy that pie? How much is your, is fitness? How much is your creative pursuits, your career, all that? So you have to find that balance. So I know for me, like, the pie is really big and it's getting consumed by a lot of things, but I know there's still a sliver there. There's still a sliver there for film, and it's in my blood. You cut me open, and there's going to be film reel.
35 millimeters just going to come spilling out. So,
so I don't do as much now, but like when somebody comes asking, for something, it's like, I have a hard time saying no. It's like, my head's like, Matt, you're too busy. You got this going on. And my heart's like, dude, I'm back to that, like, 10-year-old that's first learning that, or even just myself, like, understanding how much of an art form it is and how beautiful it is and how I can express myself as a human being through that medium. I can't draw. I can't paint. Right? I can't do that. Like, but I can act. I can, maybe perform some physical feats, some stunts. So when people come, I tend, because I got today somebody hit me up for a role. I'm like, all right, it's another horror. All right. Like,
gotta love it.
3 movies have been horrors. But so
That's
anyway,
Ohio for you.
yeah. The point is, until the day I breathe my last breath, I'm going to be involved in film in some aspect. Is it my career? No, that it doesn't have to be. But I have to find that balance for me where it's acceptable. Like, do you know what I'm trying to say?
Oh, absolutely. Well, and it doesn't have to be something, and that's one of the biggest problems. Quick tangent. One of the biggest problems with the modern world today is that everyone is trying to treat these things as a side hustle. Can I make money off of it?
Yeah.
You like cosplay. Like, I'm a cosplayer. I'm nowhere near a major cosplayer. So many of these people, but so many people get into cosplay, and then the immediate next step is, okay, how can I monetize this? But why? Like, I get it. It's a side hustle. It can make money, doing these things, being these fun characters. I get it. As an actor, I get it. It's no different. But so many people I've encountered with cosplaying, especially actors, kind of less so. Actors kind of get it. But they're just like, I don't want to bother because I can't do anything off of it. I feel like there's something I can be more productive with in my time. If you are enjoying yourself as an actor, that's productivity.
Yes.
Because so much of this world is making sure that you are soulfully fulfilled at the end of it all.
Yeah, so I would agree. 2 points with that. People make it an either or game when I would argue it's an and game.
Oh yeah.
It's not. It doesn't have to be this or that. Make it an and not only that, but like you said, it's going to make you more fulfilling and it's going to be rewarding. I would argue that if you're going and say you're acting and you're not getting paid for it, yes, in a monetary sense, it's a 0 on the ROI.
Yeah, but if anything, you pay into it, so it's negative. Right.
But in a fulfillment standpoint, from a fulfillment standpoint, and like you said, a spiritual fulfillment standpoint, it has a very much a high positive ROI, because now, if you think about it, you're happy that time that you spent doing that thing. Now you go to career or work or whatever, however you make an income. Now it's going to be a benefit to that because you are happier.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
So
I know,
the ROI is positive.
Oh, absolutely. Like, I have my day job, and I've explicitly told this to managers that I don't live to work. I work to live.
That's right.
So you can't expect me to bend over backwards, touch my head to my ankles for a job when I'm literally there, hate to say it, to make a buck. Now, am I still going to do the best I can? Absolutely. But if I can't do this, or I can't act on film, I need to find something else. That's one of the many reasons I kind of phoned in and kind of gave up on one of my jobs, is that I worked every night.
Yeah.
And it was sporadic every night. And I'm like, this is shit. This is garbage. This is a dumpster fire of a situation as someone who wants to act. And I did it for 3 years, and I'm like, I have to stop.
Yeah.
Like, I'm doing these roles, but almost they always want to film at night, and I'm busy. So it has to be during the day, or I have to take off work or squeeze it in between shifts, and then I'm exhausted, and it's just not worth it, because I'm not living to work. I'm working to live. So it gives me that recharge to do my work to live here, because I know that fulfilling thing, which for me, it's performing. For you, it's performing. Some people, maybe they want to go play golf. Maybe they want to do tennis. Maybe they want to go racing cars. My dad loves to race cars. That's one of the reasons that he does what he does. And it's how do I describe it? The mentality, there's a mentality shift that's leading into it, that it started as you work to live, Industrial Revolution. Think of the labor movement and everything like that, although they worked you to death. But suddenly, after the labor movement, if I remember my history correct, you suddenly have all this free time. That's why amusement parks came to be. Hershey Park was created because the employees just didn't have anything to do. You're working, you're working to live at that point. But before, you were living to work. And then gradually over time, when people became incrementally shittier, you know who I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
It started to pivot more back toward, well, why aren't you living to work? Because my life has a meaning besides helping you make more money. I work in finance, but I don't want to work in finance because I'm a creative person, and all of this numbers and analytical stuff makes me want to smash my head into the desk. Do I give it my best? Am I good at it? Yes. I was told I'm very good at what I do today. He asked for me by name because I'm good at what I do. But I don't like it. I want to be in here.
Yeah.
I want to be making loud screechy noises into a
Exactly.
microphone for a paycheck.
That's right. And you have, but
I
you
don't have to be fulfilled.
That's right. And you have, in order to get to that, you have to do what you have. You have to honor where you're at, and you have to take care of that by having that job. And that's why, I've given advice to other people, because I'm kind of, like, I'm kind of moving towards, like living. I don't know, like, I like the word dream, but I'm kind of, I'm getting closer and closer.
There's nothing wrong with the dream.
Yeah. Well, the point is, I'm getting closer and closer to actualizing that. But
manifesting.
I had to, with starting my business, I had to, I had to eat shit, and I'm continuing to eat shit to get there, to sacrifice. You have to sacrifice relationships, time spent with others, other pursuits. So like, you go work your 9 to 5, and then what are you doing from 5 to 10, 11? Are you hustling for that thing that you eventually want to be your 9 to 5?
I am. I'm recording my demos.
Yep.
We'll talk about that later, but I'm recording my demos the 17th and 18th. I'm practicing the 17th, and I'm recording the 18th. Finally, to be able to do just that.
Yeah.
Voiceover is kind of weird. There's only so much I can do.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, you have to operate like it's in a very expensive program. I think I talked to you about it. It's a very expensive program, but anything worth doing is worth, how do I describe it? I can't say sacrifice, because it's not, it is, but it isn't. It's worth operating in the red to ultimately end up in the black.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. We're operating at a loss, not necessarily a sacrifice, because it depends on how you look at it, but operating at a loss to ultimately come out on top. And it does take time. It takes a lot of money in a lot of instances to really get to where you want to go. You know what I mean?
Yeah. When I first started teaching martial arts for a couple years, 2 or 3 years, I didn't make a fucking cent. It was all volunteer work, but I knew what was at the end of the road. Mm-hmm. I knew, like, hey, I'm gonna get through this. I'm building skills. I'm learning the art of pedagogy. I'm learning the art of instruction. I'm learning, here's how to
personal brand.
Yeah. And I'm building some equity as well. But here's the thing. A lot of people don't have the patience to get there, to see it through. They don't understand it. They want it now. And a lot of people want it now. They don't get that look at anybody that's quote unquote made it, right? Whatever that means. That
means they got an inheritance to kickstart their career.
But the point is, like, they don't see all the other hours and hours and hours of work that they put in the shit. So if you want to get where you want to be, there's no replacing hard work. I don't know what to tell you. You got to put in the hours and the effort, and you got to sacrifice.
It reminds me of the meme that went around. It was a number of years ago, but I think it started in a newspaper, but it's a plate spinner back when plate spinners were pretty common. And it shows the plate spinner at the top of a long staircase spinning like 5 plates. But what you don't see behind him in the shadows is all of the broken plates. And it's not just practicing and failing to get better. That is absolutely part of the equation. You have to fail, but you have to start somewhere. You have to build yourself up somewhere. Like when I got into local film, now mind you, the local film scene in Columbus has grown a bit since I started. Like, it was around and it was there, but it wasn't. I want to say it's grown a little bit more since I started. And part of it's I'm also in the industry. Yeah. But at the time, it was, doing auditions and reaching out to people and contacting people. Now, and this isn't bragging, it's just the state of things. Now, more often than not, people come to me for a role. They're like, hey, I have this film. I think you'd be a good fit. Do you want to do it? And it's not even necessarily an audition. It's like, do you want to do it? And I'm like, let me see the script. Let's see what we got. Let me see your work. I want to know who I'm working with. Fine, let's go. We did one last year that was like that. Yeah. And he's like, hey, I think you'd be a good fit for this. I mean, he had me read for it just to be sure. I think you'd be a good fit for this. And now it's been accepted in all sorts of film festivals across the country. It's Lavender Boy. I think I told you about that. Yeah. With Donovan Miles. It's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. Script was great. Filming was great. And it's just, I was really lucky that I've been very lucky because a lot of it is that they've been able to reach out, but it's also because I I busted my butt for a while, not as much as I could because there's only so much I could do at the time,
Yeah.
but I busted my butt to get to that point.
Well,
And
you're right. You build your equity, you build your value,
and you build your brand.
and that's exactly, and that's all intrinsic. That's all connected. So the point is, like, what's the old saying is, like, you work, and you build up your thing until the world will want what you have. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm with you, because just literally today somebody reached out to me. I've never worked with this person, and they're like, "Hey, I think you'd be good for this role. You want it?" I'm like, so they sent me the script. I'm going to read it. It's like, they know, Matt, there's some stunt work involved. There's going to be some, some decent drama, like, but I've never worked with them. But I've been doing this thing for a little bit, and so it's like, okay, not to say that you and I are above audition.
No. I'll absolutely audition if it comes up, because I know I need to.
The point is, when we first started out, this wasn't an option, because we built up our brand, our personal brand, so that people saw it and they're like, damn, there's value there that I need. What was I saw a clip that you posted where this, a dad or an older guy was yelling at you, and you were wearing a white shirt. What film was that?
The white t-shirt?
No, what the hell were you wearing? Oh, it was like a white dress shirt. I can't remember. It had a really...
Oh, that's Lavender Boy.
Lavender Boy?
What, okay. I was wearing glasses. My hair was kind of short.
Yeah, your hair was short.
Yeah, that was Lavender Boy. My character was being interrogated at that time, literally.
Was that the one that had, like, it seemed like the guy that was talking to you had an anti LGBTQ stance?
Mm-hmm. That's the point of the movie. So Lavender Boy is a historical fiction account of a gay man. I was playing a gay man in the film, that during the Lavender Scare in the 50s. So it's a lesser known thing in the 50s that during the Red Scare, everyone's a communist. Gay people are communists. It was called the Lavender Scare.
Oh, yeah.
So that you were not allowed to be gay and work for the government, because they was a obviously bullshit belief that being communist, you were gay. You were gay, you were communist, on top of many, many other shitty things at the time. And that's what the film is about. The script, when I read the script, like, there was one scene that was ended up being cut, but I think they did it. I think they made a good call with it, that just reading through the script, it was just like, or when we were performing it, like, it was the first time that I was able to bring tears on set.
Right.
So it was one of those pieces of footage that I want from my real Donovan, please. But I thought that with the lighting, because they're, oh my God, just like all the people they had set was just like Sydney Lawson, the director of photography. She is phenomenal. Like, seriously, if she keeps it up with the industry, she's going to be huge. Like, her cinematography, like, I think she just posted, if you find her on Instagram, on her director of photography on Instagram, her reel is it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. Her use of angles and capturing the lighting, and just phenomenal. And then, the gaffers and everything like that were able to take literally broad daylight in July. That the living room where I was being interrogated in the white shirt, that was like 2:00, 1:30 in the afternoon. In just this old home in somewhere west of Dayton, that they were just like, we need it to be night. It got, by damn, they made it night. Like, you're walking through the living room and you're just like, yeah, it's dark outside. I'm gonna go take a breath of fresh air. And it's like that scene of Scott Pilgrim where it's just, ah, and you're just blinded by light. It was, anyway.
Good shit, man.
Just, so good.
Yeah, we're gonna do a complete.
Some of the alcohol's getting to me now.
I love it.
Aha!
We're gonna do a complete 180 here.
Okay.
Because I wanted to. We were talking about this in a previous conversation, so I want to kind of expand on it on our on the podcast here. But we were talking about learning from our mistakes and admitting them, and growing as a man, and being in, and understanding how to be in touch with your emotions and your feminine, your feminine
Oh,
side.
yeah.
And I've said this before on this podcast a lot, but that's one of the major issues that we have culturally, is that men are not rewarded or even educated or motivated enough to accept their emotional side, accept their feminine energy.
It's the toxic masculinity of a bygone age.
And I I feel like that's one of the major issues that's plaguing us societally. It's plaguing men in general. Why there are violent occurrences by men, why men treat women with such disrespect, and why there's so much anxiety because when you repress anything inside, it's going to bite you.
Oh,
When
absolutely.
you push away anything, it's going to get you.
Yep.
So how can we as men learn to accept our emotions? And I'm glad that, my mom was a big influence, because she it was like, you feel those things, like it's okay to cry. That's all right.
Let the emotions
Let
out.
let those emotions run through you, feel them, and then when they're done, let them go. Um, but I think about how many men, especially how many guys that were like, their dad's like, tough. You're a man. You're tough. You can't
Tough it up. I don't want to see you cry. There's no crying and
exactly.
whatever. Yeah.
So we were talking about that. I guess it's kind of two questions.
Yeah.
In there is the, because we were talking about how you've made mistakes and you'll continue to make mistakes, and everybody
life.
will. And but you were saying how you'll catch yourself saying something like, "Why did I say that?" And then you learn and grow from it. That's part one. And I guess the second part I'm saying is, emotionally, how important it is, and how can we as men be more in touch with that energy that we need to balance ourselves out.
So the biggest thing is that it has to start in childhood. So part of it is that I was a psychology major. I did not go to a graduate school because cost, but lots of things happened. But I was a psychology major for a long time, and then I almost dual majors in philosophy. So it's a lot of counter things where it's coming into nature versus nurture. A lot of people will say that it is a true man doesn't cry. A true man is stoic in the face of anything. That's bullshit, and that is nonsense. And the reason for that is because men feel incredibly deeply. They just do. Look at the guys that almost any guy, even the quietest guys when you get them talking about something that they like, will just go ham on it. Now, some guys will be more soft-spoken, but you can tell when they give a shit. That extends to the entire emotional spectrum. So you have to get them when they're young, just like your mom did, just like my mom did, where it's, you don't repress emotion. You don't negatively enforce emotion, where it's, no, you don't cry. You're a guy, you don't cry. And then you don't teach them how to manage those emotions. Everyone should cry. It's a release of emotion. It's a release of expression. You are so sad that you have to get these feelings out in this way. That is perfectly natural. It happens in every species, basically. I think every mammalian species that has tear ducts like that. But it's something that is perfectly natural. And it's something that should be celebrated and encouraged. And I saw one post that was people bragging, oh, I haven't cried in 10 years. What the fuck is wrong with you? Like, I cried 2 days ago.
I feel bad for you. Yeah.
Me too. Like, how out of touch with your reality, not reality as a whole, your reality, that nothing brings you to tears. And I'm not saying that everyone should be crying every couple days. Like, I am passion's extract. I feel very, very deeply that, like, I'm one of those people that gets goosebumps at music, but I'll also cry at music. If a movie or a story has something that is incredibly touching, I'll start bawling. Zero shame in that. But I also know when, like, I need to be more emotionally resilient, but I am a very sensitive person. It's just how I am. Can I withstand a lot? Yes, I can. I've had to. part of it's because I'm so emotional. But to get men around it, you have to start young, because it's men that are our age, if not even older. It's going to be like teaching dogs new tricks. Doable, very doable, but very difficult. Very much Andragogy. Very much Andragogy. That you have to teach them that it's okay. And adult men, like young men, it's very, very easy. You just tell them, dude, you're fine. Like, keep doing it. Like, you're doing a great job. It's okay. This is your truth of the moment. This is what you feel right now. Let's work through it. Older men are, and I use this very lightly because it's sort of true. There is a degree of psychopathy. There is a degree that they don't feel emotions to a point correctly. Some men just don't. I haven't cried in 10 years. That's worrisome, because that means that in the face of things that you should be absolutely distraught about, you are either uncaring, concerning, depending on what it is, or repressing, which is very, very bad, because those feelings are still there. You just haven't done anything with them. They will come out again, and they will come out when you are the most vulnerable that you can be. That's why, as you said, that's why men lash out. That's why men are irrationally angry, because it's the one emotion in a lot of men that they understand is rage. Rage is the one that is like, that's cool. Of all things, that's cool.
Yeah.
Like, no, you can feel love. You can be soft. You can be tender. Most men, to a degree, want to be.
Yeah.
But they are so conditioned not to be. Like,
societally, parentally, whatever.
Parentally, society, that's where the nurture comes in. So it's nature versus nurture. It's very much nature versus nurture, because the nature is, I have emotions. I'm a person. I have these chemicals in my head. If you want to go biologically, I have the spirit within me that wants to be in touch with other spirits around me. I have these feelings that need to get out. That's why you can have someone like the stereotype of the big, burly Hell's Angel biker equivalent that maybe likes to bake, that maybe likes to read, that maybe likes to garden. And they do. There's so many that do. And there's so many that are like, oh, that's feminine. What?
Yeah.
The most manly men, and you might get a bunch of angry comments for it, but I stand by it. The most manly a man can be is someone who's also feminine, 100%. Which is just a social construct anyway. But it's someone who is in touch with their emotions and isn't afraid of them, because that's what they are ultimately. They have been taught through emotional abuse to be afraid of these emotions, and thereby don't understand them. And now this is all my conjecture. Like, this is by no means, like, I started with a psychology major because it was something that very much interested me. I like to study people. I like to study the ideas of things. I don't know how much of this is backed by science. A lot of this is observation and things that I've picked up over time. That's my caveat. I am not a scientist, and nor will I pretend to be. But if we're going to fix men now, our age, maybe even a little bit younger, definitely men that are older, it has to be a celebratory society. It has to be not only telling them it's okay, but encouraging it and celebrating it, almost even rewarding it to a degree, that whatever makes them ticked, you can reward them for it. Because I remember the first time that I saw my dad cry. I'm not going to say when, it's not that important. But I remember the first time that I saw my dad cry, and because being a concrete center millennial born in 91, I grew up in the world before the internet, but that also was a toxically masculine time. Now, I'm very lucky that I wasn't told, no, you don't cry. When I lost my great-grandmother, my grandmother, and my grandfather, all within 3 years of each other. 2 of those I saw on a daily basis. To be told that, if I was told that I wasn't allowed to cry, that I wasn't allowed to show that sadness, I would legitimately be concerned that I would be stabbing people. Because I care extremely deeply. I cared extremely deeply about them. And I know there are people that are out there that had that happen to them. And I know that there are, I don't know them personally, and they just don't know how to handle it. Maybe they lash out. Maybe they have a drinking problem because they have all of these feelings inside that they are afraid to let come out because they are afraid to be judged. Which goes into therapy, which is a completely different stigma that I want to strangle out, regardless of the. Anyway. But yeah, like it would need to be a world that needs to be rewarding and celebratory of these people that have been so long lied to that they're not allowed to feel. And every time I see someone who's like, oh, I don't want somebody that does that. Congratulations, you get to be alone. Fuck you. How fucking dare you? Like, do you really want to, like, men or women, it doesn't matter to me. Like, I'm an ally to the LGBT community, but I can't pretend to know how every relationship works. But I know there are people that are like this. How dare you say or tell a man in this instance, you're not allowed to feel. You're not allowed to cry when you're upset. That is the time when they are most emotionally vulnerable and exposed to you as their partner, potential partner, because they trust you. You want to know why? A lot of men don't have trust? It's because of shit like that.
Yeah.
They cannot trust that they can be open, to be exposed, because it is an incredibly vulnerable experience to let your emotions out like that. Anyway, I could keep going, but that's basically the point. You get it.
You need a standing ovation for that one. Well, this was you, man. I know this is for you in podcast land. You can't see what I'm doing, but Ed was just fun. He had flaming arrows. He was just pulling out of his quiver and he was hitting the target every time, dead center. I agree with every single one of your points, and I could talk about this. I love this. Clearly, I brought it up as a question.
It's a very important topic. I'm glad you brought it up. It's very important.
It's a false dichotomy. It's a false binary that crying, showing emotion, and masculinity, that they're like, psh, what it means to be a human being. And, you and I, like you said, you aren't a scientist or even, like a psychologist, but
I would say I'm more of a philosopher than anything.
For sure.
I like the ideas behind it, but I don't necessarily have like data to back all of it up.
I'm inventing a term right now for this.
Okay.
We're wiseologists. We love wisdom. So
yes, we do.
What I'm trying to say is that it doesn't have, like, we're human beings. So that means we have emotions.
Yes, we do.
That means that we need to create a culture, a society, like you said, of acceptance, to accept the whole spectrum of emotion. Instead of it being stigmatized that this man cried, he's weak. No, that shows that that man is in touch with that emotion, that he feels enabled and bolstered and dignified to let that emotion out without the fear of judgment, the fear of reprisal. That I can experience the full spectrum of emotions. And that's the thing. When you're a human and you're in this moment, you're feeling everything. You have happiness and sadness. You have joy, you have anger, you have it all. It's a full spectrum. So being able to express those, being able to convey those to another human being. I mean, that's why I say EQ as opposed to IQ is way more important. To have emotional intelligence is the most important intelligence you can have.
Oh, absolutely. And IQ just means you can learn. That's all that means. It's pattern recognition.
That's right.
Like, it's important, but no, EQ, absolutely, I agree with you.
Being able to recognize those emotions in yourself and in others is so important. Now, I don't know. I know there are certain people that are born with more EQ naturally than others. Like we were talking about nature, nurture. But my whole mission, all right, one of the mission statements for this podcast is to make it more acceptable for men and women, non-binary, everybody in the spectrum, to be able to convey their true self. And your true self is one that feels emotion. It feels all of them. And you should be able to express them. No, you shouldn't maybe cling to that emotion and let it be your saving grace or the worst thing ever. But
you have to let emotions flow through
you absolutely have to. You have to let them run their course through you. Course through your whole body. You have to let it flow, like you said. And then when it's done, when it's over, shake its hand, bow to it, and let it be on its way. But to push it away, to stop it at the door, is going to lead to, like you said, psychopathy. It's going to lead to manifestations in other areas. It's going to work its way out some way or not. It's going to lead to
I can speak from experience.
Yeah, me too.
Yep.
So
2013 was a dark time.
So to be able to have people in your life. So this is like what I'm saying to all, especially all the guys out there, but everybody, be somebody that somebody can open up to, and be somebody that is accepting and open. All you can do, Ed, and I think we've talked about this, all you can do for another human being is offer your own state of being and create an environment for if somebody wants to come up for air, they can breathe without judgment.
Absolutely. I tell people as often as possible, especially friends, like I'm friends and I'm acquaintances with a lot of people, is that they can talk to me about anything. I may not understand everything that they're telling me, but I will always be an open ear for them and cast zero judgments as long as you're not harming someone maliciously.
Yep. I agree.
Like it's the best thing you can do, and hearing you say that made me think of it, like being there for somebody, but it's also part of that emotional being a man, is every person needs somebody they can confide in that is like them. Yeah. That is someone that you can go to and just be you. That maybe isn't necessarily a parent, because I'm not saying you shouldn't, depending on the parents, not saying that you shouldn't, but if you have that trusting relationship, it's so important. But they're not going to be around forever. You need to have somebody that is alongside them. Okay. That is good. I heard something roll, I think.
I heard it too.
Anyway, but you need someone that you can confide in, that won't cast judgment or has their best interests at heart. And I don't mean that in their own way, like to their own ends, but legitimately has your best interests at heart. They want to be there for you. They want to help you as much as they can. And not everybody's lucky enough to have that.
No.
And part of that is the state of things right now, is that if we can have a world that is much more in touch with their emotions, more a higher EQ that isn't necessarily as a result of a trauma response like some people, it will be a much more reasonable, pleasant place as a result of that, if that makes sense.
Agreed.
I think that's where I wanted to end with
and to bring it full circle, one of the best ways that you can be in touch with those emotions, right, is to, partake in film and watch a movie or a TV show or an anime or whatever, where people are going through shit and they're feeling emotions, and you can then convey, and then you can feel those emotions. Yep. I know, like, if you are somebody who doesn't like to watch movies that make you cry or make you like upset, what in your life, what else are you going to push away and block?
It's usually because it makes them uncomfortable and they don't know how to handle it.
That's what I'm saying. So, I know that, I think they were doing a study on like, people that, they were Holocaust survivors, and they pulled them about like what kind, if they like movies that showed death or torture or sadness. And what do you think they said? They said, absolutely, because your joy, your happiness, your pleasure is in direct proportion to how much you've suffered. So if you've been through it, if you can feel those emotions and come out on the other side, right? Then the joy is that much more rewarding. And that's where,
because
like I
you
said,
understand.
that's right. And that's where film can come into play, is because if you're going to, and that's why I love crying at movies, because, it it makes you feel those things. And
Yeah.
if you can accept that in a movie, what else in your life are you willing to accept? But if you're going
And
to
it,
push it away, what else in life are you going to push away?
well, and think of all the people. I myself have one. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but think of all like the quotes that mean something super deep to people because to them it's an inner truth.
Yeah.
Movies and TV that you connect with is an extension of an inner truth of yourself, for good and for bad, but mostly for good, hopefully. That they are an extension of that truth, and even acting, you have to be able to approach those characters with the truth as an actor, whatever it is, whether it's a truth that you can relate to or it's a truth of the moment that you're through that character in that instant. When they say action, you're in the truth of the moment. You're in that moment. You're in that life. You're in that character. Because if you're not, it's just like feeling those emotions in a movie where you can tell what they were going for and they didn't quite nail the mark.
Yeah.
It's because they didn't encapsulate the truth of that moment.
Mm-hmm.
So like you'll see people horror movies and dramas and comedies are a weird little circular thing. And the overlap with horror and drama in comedy is when they miss the mark.
Yeah.
Is when horror is so ludicrous that you're just like, okay, or like because they miss the truth of that moment. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
does that make sense?
Absolutely. They didn't express the truth in that moment. They didn't find it. You're completely right, dude. And that's what it's like I said. Like we were like one of the through lines, I guess, of this conversation has been to understand that us as human beings we're gonna feel things, and it's okay. That's perfectly all right. So let's create a conversation. Let's intellectualize and create a safe environment for us to have these conversations, to engage in them in an intelligent manner, and be non-judgmental about it.
Oh yeah.
And I think if we all did that, if we took our time to come to, and this was a topic I wanted to get to, but we're over time, but we'll save it for the next one. But of having compassion and empathy towards each other, because we're all in this shit together, man. But we'll have to save that for our follow up to this one. Dude, man.
My last point with that.
Yeah.
My last point with that before we do
Yeah.
is that because of the compassion and empathy, one of the other things that I think is hurting men is, and I've been more observant about it lately as I've been trying to like be more positive in my life and be more of a positive force in people's lives around me. Not to like put myself as holier than thou, but if I can break a little bit of miles somebody's life,
Yeah,
I think I did good for the day. But one of the things that I think we need to work on is put down humor as your source of humor that establishes the friendship with your friends. Put down humor has its place when you rag on somebody. It's like,
yeah.
if that's your main source of humor, if that's your main source of showing affection, does that seem healthy to you?
Well, that's the thing, is humor is important in every relationship, but it should never be at the expense of the other person.
I agree. And humor, positive or negative, is a perceived truth of those laughing and those telling the joke.
Yeah.
So like you mentioned very, very early on that I'll post to Facebook, and then some people will laugh at things that are pretty negative. Those sorts of instances, or maybe someone will react, and maybe you'll see them on other people's posts. Maybe someone will react to something that someone claims is a joke. It's meant to be funny. And it seems more problematic than it's not. And I'm not saying it's a political thing. I'm saying there are lots of jokes out there. Like some people don't like when people get hurt in movies and stuff, or like the world's funniest home videos. Some people don't like that. There is a truth in that perceived by the person. Now, when you get the world's funniest home videos, what the truth is, I am nowhere near enough psychologically trained or philosophically trained to touch on it.
Yeah.
But if we can get away from put down humor, or at least that's not your primary, and use build up senses of humor and build up comments where you compliment your friends. Fuck, tell your friends you love them. Like, for fuck's sake, like, tell your friends you love them. Like, the Greeks had like 11 words for love.
Yeah.
Those little things would make an enormous difference. Okay, now I'll shut up.
Dude, I want more. I need more Schwartz in my life. And I can't believe I didn't do a Spaceballs joke yet, you know, but I need, hey, there you go. I need more of this, brother. This was, I'm not going to lie, man. This has been one of my favorite conversations. Honestly, truly.
I've very much enjoyed it myself, my man.
And you know, like you said, dude, love you, man.
Love you too, bud.
You're a great guy. I appreciate you, man. You're coming on like a bunch other times. We know this, and hopefully,
sounds good to me.
Hopefully, we can see each other in person before too long. But yeah, man. Appreciate you coming on. Any plugs you want to get them in now, brother.
Fuck. Keep an eye out for me in voiceover work in the coming months and years. My stage name is Gabriel Black. It might change, it may not. And now that I put that out there, people are going to know.
They're going to take it.
I don't care if I have to change it again. I will.
What about Allrin Vadrix?
Allrin Vadrix is a name that I use in tabletop, and we could talk about that next time. Allrin Vadrix is one of my favorites.
Save that for next time, yeah.
But my biggest plug is I'm in a band called Shadow Glass. We have a lot of pieces and gears whirring. We should have some music out pretty soon. So keep an eye out on Spotify. And like SoundCloud and stuff for Shadow Glass. We're not there yet. We're getting there. It's still a work in progress, but those are my big things. Like I'm not in too much. Partly it's because of all of these different things working on, but that's the big ones. I'm also working on a book that's called Red, and it's still in the editing phase, but that's going to be coming out. I've written it with my sister. It's a mafia story. It's a fictional mafia story, but it's a lot of fun. So, oh man, I told you, jack of all trades. I'm doing all sorts of shit all the time.
Man, folks, you better pay attention to this man. He is all over the place. But he said a great word. He said fun. I had fun. Hope you had fun. Hope you had fun. And I hope most importantly, y'all got wiser. I know I did. Damn, it was good. Thank you for those nuggets of wisdom. I'm going to chew on those sons of bitches.
Thank you.
It's been fun, dude. All right, bro. Till next time, man.
Till next time, my friend. You have a great night.
See you guys.
Bye, everyone.
Wait. We need a thumbnail. All right, we got it. All right, see you, brother.
Take it easy, brother. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Anytime.
Yeah. Till the next one.
All right.